This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
Wake up to Good Morning Uganda, weekdays on UBC.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Was brought to you by Thank you for choosing MTN. Use MTN mobile money, bundles or other services to get Thank you points. The more you use, the more Thank you points you get. We look forward to many more years together. Thank you.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Buyogera nyaffe Uganda ku Radio Africa. Tolemwa kumwenya olwaka mwenyu akajjudde abanywanyi. Embeera y'obudde yatukolako mukwano n'obutonde obutubeezaawo ne butusobozesa buli omu okubeerawo mu ngeri ye kuba ffenna tuli banjawulo ne mu ngeri gye tukwasaganyamu emirimu gyaffe. Naye ekitugatta ne tufuuka omuntu omu bwe buwoomyo buva mu kyokunywa ekyaleeruya jingatte drink n'aleeruya tamarin drink eddekende erikumala ennyonta ate nga wejjanjaba omubiri gwo. Ekyokunywa kino kye kitegeera emibiri gyaffe kuba kya butonde 100 ku 100. Woomerwa ekyokunywa kirimu omubisi gw'enkooge Alleluia Tamarin Drink n'Alleluia Ginger Tea Drink bikolebwa ba Alleluia Reflexology Healthy Solution and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Weefunire ekyokunywa kya Alleluia leero okuva ku maduuka wonna. Bakubire ku noti 393 24 15 66.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, a few days to the end of the month, and then we shall be ushering in Feb. The month of love. That song that our producer there brought out by Westlife, and that is My Love. I Saw Felix, Priscilla and I. Of course, it's one of those numbers by Westlife on the album. Is it full?
Do you have evidence of what you're saying?
I saw you enjoy the song, Priscilla.
Where's your evidence?
Sheila was saying, you saw Priscilla, Felix and you.
And you guys were singing. Even Felix could at least pronounce a few
Funny
words.
thing is that I know that whole song, the lyrics of that whole song. Actually, that particular album was one of the albums that I love even up till today so much. Among the likes of Boys to Men, like in Asha 8701, Boys to Men, Song to Mama, that same album. And this song is off the album.
Fall Again?
No, yes, Fall Again. The album that had... just saying.
So I believe Westlife was in a time when some people had black books and they'd write the whole album in a black book.
You see, some of us we had very bad handwritings. Now that was for guys who are, and you know, I was going to add, guys who used to hang around girls a lot. So they indeed and used to hang around because in primary 3 or 4, I think, where I was still in Shimon when that album came out.
That is 2000?
Around that time, 2009, 2000, that time. And basically so it was I was a kid, man. I wasn't even interested in but of course, because I have a fine touch for music, I would easily attribute myself to sort of like good quality music. But that was a good number, and Westlife did it not much better in almost all their albums since then. But most recent, they have a song called are beautiful in white. You should look it out.
Yeah, you should look out for that song. And when you talk about groups like Westlife, then
NSYNC, Boys to Men,
Spice Girls, Destiny's Child. These were groups that really those days moved the world of music.
No one is talking about Blue 3, you know.
Were they out yet? Oh yes, I remember. But I wonder
the Coca-Cola.
How old is Cindy?
I wouldn't know.
No. Let's talk about that because I remember there was a competition, and I think I was in P7 where we had Kefa, that gentleman who died.
Yeah.
And this was the first duet. I remember Cindy and Kefa. They used to come. They came to Shimoni to sing for us. And Mr. Mosh, Roger Mugisha. Wow.
Is a grandfather.
Obsessions. Okay.
But there are people who have been
Obsessions. It was also a very interesting group. Yeah.
They were the Blue 3 years. Of course, now they split. I think each one one has.
But in that time, they also had some really nice love songs. Nakupenda.
Very interesting. When you talk
about which song is that? Which song was
it is that one. Oh. I'm just go and Google it. Go and put it. Oh.
I don't remember how the song was called, but I remember that
they were okay.
I'm not so much into world music. I'm so much a man
bring
of
it down to
songs
Justin Bieber
and worship more so.
You know, bring it to Taylor Swift. You know,
Pastor Okudi. Let's call Pastor Okudi.
Pastor Okudi.
Where did he disappear from? Those days.
Yes, so we had the Palm Awards. Were they called Palm Awards?
When you won Africa Music Awards.
The Palm Awards. So, well, we live.
Speaking of Palm Awards, we do have Mama Awards that are coming on in next month. Yes, so it's going to be a proud moment.
They've been endorsed by DJ Khalid.
Oh, DJ Khalid. I love DJ.
Well, we leave so much for Calvin the entertainer later on. To give you
no, we should have Calvin the entertainer here. Yes, to tell us about Mama Awards.
Mama Awards.
Yeah.
We will, definitely will.
There have been a couple of contradictions
on a Friday
there in Nigeria, and there have been a couple of contradictions because they've been attributing the mamas to the political activities in Uganda. Actually, I've had a lot of contenders come here to criticize the MTV that why are you going on with preparations when you have artists being incarcerated and all those kind of things, and I find it very, very unjust.
Actually, the more reason that they should stand with Ugandan artists.
Indeed. Yes. And I remember even the same story was coming out when Ole was imprisoned. But I find that quite myopic, if I may say.
I agree with you. Let's move to our newsreel story this morning where we are going to be discussing the reopening of schools. We just want to take you back down the memory line. We remember it was on March 18th when His Excellency addressed the nation regarding COVID-19 and he directed schools to close. That was in the year 2020. But later on, it was on the 15th of October, that is last year, when schools opened strictly for finalists and candidates. And of course, we had this break, Christmas, election. So the 18th of this month, finalists, candidates reported back. And remember, P7, they will be sitting their final exams on the 30th and 31st of March. Not very far from now. Senior 4s will begin their final exams, that is in March, beginning March. Senior 6, April, they'll be having their final exams. So today we are looking at the rest of the school-going classes, because remember now it's only about 1.5 million that are candidates that are going to school, but we are looking at a population of about 15 million Ugandans that are school-age going, school from nursery to, that is, high institutions of learning and universities. So, so much has been said. Speculations were, we saw some bit of social media that yes, come the 1st of Feb, schools are going to be reopening, but the ministry has not yet come out to pronounce itself on this conclusively. But said they're still observing. Remember, this group, the finalists opening, was a pilot project that would give us direction on whether we should proceed to opening other schools or not. Felix, looking at time now, so much has gone under. People are wondering, should we open schools, shouldn't we open schools? I want to look at your assessment of the situation vis-a-vis the COVID-19 and how we are seeing more increasing cases in this country.
Well, Robert, when you look at the genesis of why we have children or school goers, actually it's no longer children, it is all school goers, because they include even doctorate students for that matter. But we must take cognizance in the fact that COVID is actually real and present and here with us. And the same is a reflection of the evidence that we have lost a number of people in this country, and that's a matter of fact. Nevertheless, as we do take cognizance and knowledge into the fact that COVID is quite dangerous and lethal, we must also take greater cognizance that the effect of COVID is far stretched than actually the danger it poses to us. In the same spirit, if you're to take a categorical breakthrough or breakdown of the aspect and the dangers of COVID-19, you will be into realization that it does stretch far from academic, it goes to economic, it will go to social, it will go to cultural, custom, just to mention but a few. But if you're to curtail yourself to the aspect of education per se, by now, I want you to do a simple juxta from when we broke off up till today. If you were to look at it in all the aspects, because I try to give you the aspects that are directly linked to education. One, I talk about economics, in terms of economics. You and me know, for example, schools, how much they break down into the economy. Talk about purchase and supply, talk about taxes, talk about the recycling, you know, all those things. Talk about, let's go to its aspect of society. You know what has happened since then, when people have, some teachers will never go back to teaching. You've done these stories time and again. We even have some who have killed themselves, or suicide if you want to call it. That is that. Go to issues of families. You know the effect of this. Now would-be students are mothers. Some of them are teenage moms, just to mention but a few. Now, the reason why I bring it from that angle, I'm trying to bring closer the urgency of us finding a solution. I'm not saying that we need to push, but I'm saying we must find a way around the situation of education. And the same is that we must cause agreement into the problem faced with us, but because we have spent a long time since March, we are almost getting to a year, and we cannot say we have not found a solution. All right? We tried to do online and blah, and then TV and radio. All that didn't work out to the best of the expectation. But having kids, because there was a sample. I don't know, we should use that finalist sample as a case study. What is the level of exposure? Good. We've ascertained that. Let's look at, if the exposure comes, how are we ready to deal with it in terms of it? Do we have, is it important to test every child, test teachers? If you're testing, does it make sense? And when do we focus on the SOPs as government? If you get any positive cases, who does the burden fall on? Exactly. What is the response in terms of that? Now, all that is something I think we should be talking about if we want to discuss the concrete aspect of opening schools. Let's look about enforcement of SOPs. Where is the government role? Has government invested in SOPs? Because now you're taking back 15 million people to an exposure. Do you still have control as government? All right? Do you have something you put in place, or you're simply redoing what you did? As a white man says, you're chasing your shadow. The Akello that we were talking with here yesterday on Agenda did make a point and say that with the reflections of the national budget that they were looking at the framework, it's not catered for. They were desiring to see a lot of catering in terms of COVID-19, most affected areas, sectors. As a country plans to reopen very many sectors. So that should be spot on and actually head on priorities. Because, for example, if you're talking about Felix, on that, when you have the education sector, you have private and public, where if you look at the pilot project, that government, much as it was able to give a few incentives to its schools, to the government-aided schools, you'd find there was a challenge with private schools. I think that maybe. But you see, government is not limited to public schools. Government is supposed to cater to education as a whole, not discriminating that private or public. They are all educators and they're all educationists that are being affected by COVID-19. I'll tell you that. And at the end of the day, they're also all Ugandans. Even besides what Felix usually refer to as education is a right. No, and in fact, in addition to what you guys are saying, you do realize that these private schools are only aiding the cardinal role of a government. But or the gap even of government. To cover, yes, that gap. But also to stretch far on the same radius, that when you talk about education, and you're talking about risk and assessment and exposure, you cease to discuss it in the aspect of private and public. Because at the end of the day, when you get sick, Chirabo in a private school and Priscilla in a government school, you all end up in one place. And yet again, you end up onto the statistics of the country. So we must agree to deal with these 15 million people as a government policy. That one, if the need be, let's enhance SOPs, and we have talked about this time and again. If the government is willing to open schools, let us discuss the most important or the most relevant aspects in gearing SOPs in schools. One, water. We can discuss a waiver on costs.
But you see, if they have not discussed that and implemented it in the pilot project for the ones that we have candidates, then how do you expect them to do it for 15 million students?
Well, of course,
it's a tricky one. It's a consideration, but it will take a lot of bureaucracy for it to be passed.
By the way, government should have a government institution producing sanitizer. Honestly, it should have. I think in as much as His Excellency was launching the treatment and what, there should be. Because that's where it starts. Now, this shows that, you see, when some of these aids in fighting the virus are available, it makes them also accessible.
Yes.
We are looking at schools in Uganda, the kind of schools we have. And away from these Kampala schools of yours, go to Chanamkaka. Go to Bundibujo, go to the places where you have this dance slide every day. Bududa. You know, you go to deep. So, in consideration of those schools, even if you have water, they don't have piped water. So, this is where we need government to rethink a wholesome approach. Not in unique, because in uniqueness rather, but you have now candidates who have gone to school. In some areas, others don't even know that school opened.
And also,
you get it because the ability is not there. Some teachers no longer are now bricklayers or border or taxis or farmers.
Felix, I was reading a report by the Association of Private Schools. They came up with a report. That is, they call themselves non-state education institutions. And they came up, and the report indicates that over 30% of private schools were not able to open, even to accommodate candidates.
That is true.
The reason being that some had few candidates, and the school could not run, spend the same bills of maybe water, electricity, paying teachers' salary. So for them, they chose that let's close and just give and let the students go to another school.
And the burden falls back on a parent to decide if they can enroll that child
private
in
schools
school.
did not open. Then also, I remember the discussion we had with the district education officer for Wachiso, Frederick Chienji Chinobe, who said they would rather look at a phased approach of opening up schools. That, okay, if you can have away from the finalists and the candidates, maybe you have senior 5, then you have senior 3, then you have P6, go back as they observe the situation and see how best, because also it has a challenge of maybe spaces and some of these incentives being put in place. Phased approach, Priscilla, what would be your comment on that?
Phased approach would work, but it can't work for all regions. It would work for where you have schools, maybe Kampala, Wakiso, where you have schools that do have premises that are huge in size. So they can afford to accommodate phased approach. Of course, in consideration that the biggest challenged SOP is social distancing. So that means that in class, in dormitories, for the ones that do have boarding schools, they would have to consider social distancing. It means that even when it comes to meals, even when it comes to other activities, co-curricular activities, they're going to have to find a way to social distance, which would require you to have a lot of property on your hands as a school owner or proprietor for that matter. So that is only okay in only certain districts. But then when you look at the bigger districts and the larger districts, the new districts, they cannot afford to do that because that comes at an expense. It means that you'd either have to put up emergency structures to cater for that. If not, you're going to have to lose on the number of students that have been enrolled at your school. If you had 300, you might have like 100 coming back in consideration of that. Where does that leave the burden of the expense of education? Then it puts it on either the proprietor who will pass it on to the parent. Of course, you know, even the economy right now, as far as earning per income household, is it also dropped. So it's it's a very, very serious matter. It does actually make sense why the Ministry of Higher Education is choosing to first hold it off, because 15 million may look like a small number, but across the country it will be hard to manage, it will be hard to observe and monitor, for that matter.
Felix, knowing that now there is more likely to have an extension of, as people thought that we could maybe open up with the new year and have the rest of the school going population back to school, we may take a longer period. What are some of the remedies, what are some of the alternatives that we can use to ensure that the school goers actually do not lag so much behind?
Before Felix comes in, Shirabo, where's our radios and televisions you people were?
No, but
the Committee of Parliament rubbished that.
Yeah.
Rubbished
and
that.
they were very right in their wisdom.
No,
in fact,
and the reason why they cancelled it was because they said that schools were going to resume soon. So what is the determinant for soon?
No, but you see, when you talk about soon, it is a shame that now almost a year, the entire government has failed to find a way forward for students, and we keep on postponing time and again. It simply shows how unserious some parts or some departments have chosen.
And this does not only apply to Uganda.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't
Many
matter.
countries
There are so many things any countries are doing that we are not doing.
Let me just drive my point on my back, because it is not that maybe we fail to have schoolgoers back in school, but this is something, you're having a mutation, you've not yet been able to have a vaccine. Even the countries where the vaccination has been, you've seen the European Union today saying, no, we need more and you can't produce much of that. So I think that's why a number of countries, not only Uganda, are saying let's first hold and we monitor the situation. Some countries have said until we are sure we all have vaccination, then we can have them go back.
So Felix,
are you aware that some universities are doing exams?
Yes.
Are you aware that some universities are not having candidates? They're having full other classes.
Yes. Are you aware of that?
Also international.
Aware that also some schools are teaching? No. So you see, where is the balance?
There's actually there's a place that I went to, and I asked, where is this person? I said, no, bamuzizayo against the kusoma.
And they're not candidates.
Then that is an illegality.
That is an illegality. But let me tell you, we cannot see. And the reason why I say this is that there's a lot of imbalance in the approach to social, or what we call common goods in this country. That's why for me my focus and my eyes are relayed so much on the people who cannot access the privileged education. Chirabo, your child can be able to sit on a TV set and tune into UBC or to whatever radio and listen to a teacher
with Chirabo monitoring the child.
If you're interested,
if he steps away, they move on to cartoons.
That's the thing. Now, however, there's a child who till from March last year, they have been probably their parent teenagers or their student parents. They have to be
last time when we were in Bwaise, there was a child vendor, vendor, 10 years of age, and meanwhile his parents had sent him to the street with sweets, masks, and those biscuits, and he's selling on the street where the parents at home.
So you see, Robert, I think and that's why in my thesis I was telling you that I gave you the different attachments, the different. I talked about social, economic. All these come back to. I can tell you, you have done shows here with people, and they have given you statistics. How many girls have gotten pregnant? How many parents today have realized that they can't keep kids
home for that period? Yes, they have to go to work.
But also, how many schools have been sold, have been turned into hotels? Just to mention but a few. Now, you must look at all these, not just about education. Look at all the things that surround what we call the circumstantial effects of education. And that gives us, or informs us about the urgency of how we should be able to move forward. I'm not talking about exposing these people. Government must not be rigid. You and me know. Look at the modus operandi in Kampala. Let me take it as a study. Or in any city. Do you still have SOPs, Robert? You and me know that? Let's be honest. You go exposed. I don't want to talk about the Chisekas. Everyone is giving the same examples. Okay, go in your locality. When did you even last wash your hands unless you have been approached to the supermarket.
When he goes back home, does he wash his hands before
so
he engages with his people?
You see, we are crucifying education, I think, unnecessarily for now.
That's true.
Because COVID up till today is a big threat, that I must say. But again, it has since then ceased to be to make news the way it used to be. Now, people are either willing to live around COVID, to live with COVID, or to live better with COVID. Now, we must take that advantage. Again, government is at the forefront, but it must also make some hard decisions. One, it must look into the most important or how do I call them, the most important ailments for SOPs. Let's look at, government gave out masks. Probably now it should look at a program of schools. Second one, let's look at the prices of the most relevant aspects or objects or apparatus or things in the fight against COVID-19. I've talked about water time and again. Okay, let's talk at the price of soap. All these things are important, and government is in total control. Let's talk about sanitizer. These are things that now should
temperature guns.
Temperature guns. Almost that should be like everyone's thing. Let's talk about COVID tests. Today, how much is a COVID test?
185.
But that's in, you go to other places.
No, exactly. Of course, it depends. The limit is 185.
Also depending on the urgency.
There's also express.
Also. Now, those things, once you're able to bring them down to be affordable, to be accessible and available, we can let people go back. Because then a school, even some schools can say, no, for us, every parent bringing back a child come with a COVID test result. You get it. That's one. People can say, okay, because university or schools are able to purchase water at a very low cost, you can have washing points, over 30 washing points in the school, that everywhere you turn. Let's talk about masks. That the schools can issue out masks at a cost maybe about 300 or 500. So all these things will come in to mitigate, but we cannot stay locked down forever. Life must go on, Robert. Even amidst a pandemic, we must forge a way forward.
Very interesting,
the
Felix.
one question I have myself is that in all these deliberations that the Ministry of Education is having, now it's coming to a year that these students have been seated. Where does that leave them? Because if they were in P2 last year, is there a consideration that they're going to have to repeat the class, or they're going to have to move on to P3? And by what measures are they going to have to move on to P3? There's also that hiccup that is a burden and a migraine to parents, most especially, because there's that fear. And that fear has pushed parents in doing the most cumbersome things, educating their own children at their own phoned syllabuses on the street. They found a book of physics for P2, and they got the book, okay, not physics, but science for P2, they got it, and they're educating their child. But
well, wrapping it all, I look at it on the two sides. Either government steps up its efforts in ensuring that the required necessities in the fight against COVID are given out to schools so we can have children there, subsidies on water, like Felix said, or we find methods through which even children without physically being present in classrooms can still gain education, and we develop a way which we can monitor to ensure promotions can go on and examinations can go on. Some countries have done this, that yes, physical presence in schools, in classroom is not there, but education is continuing. Can we toil that road? Or should we ensure that we just... Well, my producer is on my neck. Time is not against us.
Teacher me. You've talked about education, formal education, backbencher indeed. And you've reminded me that where there's formal education, there's informal education. And informal education was one of the backroots of life, of
all societies.
Studying under trees, you know, learning how to make this and that. So I encourage parents right now that while we are still waiting for schools to reopen for your children, why don't you focus on informal education? Yesterday I was watching an interview of Miss Little Uganda. Yes, Miss Little Uganda. She's a 13-year-old, but in this 1 year, she has actually been able to collect and fundraise money for autism kids, simply because she has been advocating for that. She's been doing small things, planting small things, and then she has people over, they say, you see, I'm planting this and I need money for the autism kids. And she's been getting money. There are parents who have been buying pieces of art and giving their children to make necklaces, bracelets, things like that. So why not use this time to actually give your child an extra outside school or classroom skill that will actually go a long way in aid them? Because believe me, that boy in Wise, I asked him, so how do you get these things? Nedda nkera kumacha nengenda kuduka ne bampa packet ya sweetie nenjireta wano nentunda. Can you imagine? He's already sharp and understanding the economics of his well-being. So believe you me, by high school he will be having a small business while going to school. God forbid should his parents pass, he can take care of his fellow siblings.
So all is not lost.
Should not
all
be lost.
Is not lost as we crave for the opening of schools and of course government intervention. Parents also, this is an opportunity, like Priscilla said, that you can use to focus on other forms of education that are also relevant to your children. As we keep on praying and believing that we shall have a vaccine, the treatment is already around, clinical trials are underway, and finally we will be good to go. And COVID will be like some of the diseases we are used to living around with. Well, with that, we come to the end of our newsreel story. When we return, I and Priscilla will be looking at some of the stories in the dailies. Good morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Stay connected to the largest 4G network in Uganda, anytime, anywhere, using the Airtel 4G Pocket MiFi, available at only 123,000 Uganda shillings. This comes with 15 GB free, valid for a month. You can connect up to 10 users at a go and still enjoy a shared yet unmatched internet experience. Dial *175*9# to activate free 15 GB. Visit the nearest Airtel shop to get one today. Airtel, the smartphone network. Airtel is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Shopping needs, come to Capital Shoppers. We have a variety of items like foods, garments, cosmetics, and all sorts of drinks. Enjoy your shopping experience at affordable prices in our fully stocked branches in the following areas: Ntinda Station Road, opposite Makere Business School along Portbell Road, Duster Street opposite Nakasero Market, and Garden City on Yusuf Lule Road. To all our customers and suppliers, we thank you for your continuous support. Stay safe, wash your hands, sanitize, and wear your mask always.
Daddy, surprise! Here is a pizza for you. Happy birthday to you! Daddy, you look not impressed.
My daughter, this is not meaningful to me. Hallelujah Natural Drinks is my ideal gift today.
Hallelujah Day. Hallelujah Ginger Tea Drink and Hallelujah Tamarind Drinks are the most perfect, nutritious and healthy products that help everyone to boost their immune system to get complete relief of most sicknesses like joint pains, cough, diabetes, blood pressure, easy digestion, and many more. And certified by UNBS. For orders, find us at Bifro House on Sir Apollo Kagwa Road, opposite MBI. Hallelujah Natural Drinks, perfect for your health. Hallelujah Day.
Shopping needs, come to Capital Shoppers. We have a variety of items like foods, garments, cosmetics, and all sorts of drinks. Enjoy your shopping experience at affordable prices in our fully stocked branches in the following areas: Ntinda Station Road, opposite Makere Business School along Portbell Road, Duster Street opposite Nakasero Market, and Garden City on Yusuf Lule Road. To all our customers and suppliers, we thank you for your continuous support. Stay safe, wash your hands, sanitize, and wear your mask always.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, talk about opening education institutions. The New Vision today brings you a story, and that is universities to remain closed over COVID-19. So it is upon you parents, how do you ensure that your child does not lose whatever they should be knowing at such a time? Or how does government come in to ensure that there is continuity even without physical presence at education institutions, say schools, or more to be specific, the classroom? Also, the New Vision brings you a story. Uganda launches COVID-19 trial drug. His Excellency launched that yesterday, and that was at Mulago National Referral Hospital. Still, we see winners and roundup of district council polls. The New Vision brings you that. Who are the winners in the just concluded elections when it comes to local council polls? There are over 220 tender offers in the New Vision there, so you can check through and see. Maybe you can win one of these contracts or tenders there. And there is controversy. Bank of Uganda disowns, that is 481 billion budget request from the Bank of Uganda there. And in the education sector, pass O-level biology, physics, and English are there in the New Vision for your school going to look through if they fit within that category. Priscilla, in the Daily Monitor.
In the Daily Monitor, it is Thursday, January 28th, and it is the year 2021. For the Daily Monitor, making headlines this morning, Museveni, I don't want mediation. And of course, the bulletins in there. President says he's open to talks, says opposition knows his address. NUP says no need for reconciliation. FDC says they are willing to dialogue. So it's very interesting how different camps are responding to the aftermath of elections.
You have so much, but if you consume whatever is there,
yes,
that will be a stomach upset.
Still looking on schools reopening, on page 3 you'll find a story about government blocks university reopening, and then we'll also have student killed in Mbale police chase. If this student was in school, they would still be alive today. May their soul rest in peace. In regional, on page 29, we look at health camp on the spot as people lose eyes. And Mr. Lizard there in the corner is, putting his eyebrow up in wondering of Museveni's statement. I don't want mediation, and he's thinking he loves to solve all problems alone. In pictorial for the Daily Monitor, of course, you do have the president standing with a couple of doctors, and some of them from the National Chemotherapeutical Research Institute, and they're holding the drug that is going to be released on the market as soon as possible in treatment of COVID-19. A great stride that we are looking at. Looking at the top page of Daily Monitor's front page, we look at COVID-19. Scientists upbeat about Uganda's COVID drug test. And then we also get to look at the COVID statistics today. 39,314 cases right now. Recovery is at 14,114, and the death toll still stands at 318. But also today in Daily Monitor, we talk about relationships. Be open to a chance of accidental love.
You millennials, now what is that?
Accidental love.
Accidental love.
Please, in the break, get this paper and read about accidental love. Don't ask me.
Very interesting. In the New Vision here, there is Know Your Member of Parliament. I think some of the segment now that the New Vision brings, and today they have Aloysius Mukasa, that is for Lubaga South, David Abala, that is Ngora North, and then Richard Sebamala, that is Bukoto Central. So you get to know who your MP is. Remember, these are mostly newly elected. They give you also, there is a picture there of another person being assisted to cast their vote. Today in history, it is on the 28th day of January 2010 when James Clinton, a contractor, Patrick Mohozi, online administrator, and Douglas Kibuka, system analyst, were charged at Buganda Road Court with conspiracy to defraud MTN Uganda of 1 billion shillings and remanded to Zila prison. Still today in history, it was on the 28th day of January 1970 when Israel fighter bombers attacked targets and closed as 6 miles from the center of Cairo, killing 3 civilians and wounding 12. According to Cairo's military spokesperson, 4 Israeli aircrafts had attacked targets at Madi, 6 miles south of the center of Cairo, and there it was about 8 miles there. So that is when it comes to history. Still COVID-19, the statistics don't differ any, and Priscilla discussed them, but all we can read them out for you. All we can remind you is please, 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 COVID is still real. So far we've lost 318 people in Uganda have succumbed to COVID. Looking at Tanzania, looking at Rwanda, they have lost 181 people so far. Kenya, 1,751 cases. Then South Sudan, 64 cases. Countries leading in the world, that is USA with most infections. India follows Brazil, Russia, and the United Kingdom. So please mind about your health in whatever you do. No politics, no entertainment should derail you and you forget that COVID is present. Priscilla, moving to the sports page.
Daily Guide brings you in the people that are making news for this whole week. You do have Vincent Sempija, the agriculture minister's hope to returning to parliament was thrown out of the window after efforts to have a vote recount failing. You have Bernard Onen Odoi, the youth MP candidate for Eastern Region, being disqualified on grounds that academic papers he submitted for nomination are not compatible with his age. Of course, you have to consider that some went to school at when they could afford it. In the archives today, we do look at then Minister of State for Defense Ruth Nankabira addressing cattle keepers in Chankwanzi. The year was 2001, and it gives you a picture of really money beats Gonzaga. Today in history, Namirembe Boys School was opened. The year was 1902, but also in 1862, British explorer and ex-serviceman Captain John Speke was crossing from a little kingdom, Poro Kingdom, from Karege Kingdom in Tanzania, while he was making route to Buganda Kingdom. Read about that interesting journey for John Speke. We also get to look at Uganda's first government Indian school. Here I was thinking it was Shimoni, but the government Indian school, as it was called then, Kampala, was the first government-owned school exclusive to Indian pupils in the country. Interesting. On to the sports page for the Daily Monitor. This morning, we get to look at English Premier League dedication. Arsenal manager Arteta dedicated his side's win over Southampton to absenteeism of Aubameyang. You also get to look at 7 goals avalanche. The 5-2 collapse to Morocco saw Uganda tally 24 goals conceded at their 5 CHAN editions, the worst by any team thus far. Humiliating exit writes a review there from Andrew Manguha. You also have player ratings done by Elvis Senono. Each of the players that have been part of this CHAN journey get to know how they performed, and the highest performance is at 6.5 for Charles Lukwago, and the lowest seems to be at 2 for Dennis Iguma.
In the New Vision Sport, we have what's next for the Uganda Cranes, a question there as they give you African Nation Championship Tuesday results were Uganda 2, Morocco 5, Togo 2, Rwanda 3. That defines where we are standing. Then also a big question, is McKinstry worth it? Cranes coach has fallen short. That is a headline there in the New Vision Sports, and more statistics regarding African Nation Championship, where statistics there, Uganda has given 12 shots there and Morocco 21, 5 shots on target, Morocco 10, 4% possession, that is ball possession, Morocco 56%, 315 passes, Morocco 378 passes, 27% passes accuracy, while Morocco had 76. And fouls, Uganda we got 21, Morocco 18. Yellow cards, Uganda we got 2, Morocco 1. Offsides, Uganda we got 5 and Morocco got 1. Then corners, we had 4. They had 7. So there's so much regarding the match that we had, and of course the results there. The writer gives you more of those details. But don't forget, Ruben Mpima Kasera Chibirango will be here to give you all those interesting stories in the world of sports, and more so regarding this game as well. When we return, Priscilla will be taking us through traffic updates for you to know where to pass, how fast to get your destination. Good morning, Uganda.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Double data. Airtel introduces double data, the biggest deal ever on smartphones in Uganda. Buy a smartphone, 3G or 4G, and get 100% data bonus from Airtel. Airtel is giving you 100% bonus data on all weekly and monthly bundles for every new smartphone connected to Airtel for the first 3 months. Dial *175*9# to enjoy double data. Double data, double data. Bino bye biruma bayaye. Airtel, the smartphone network, regulated by Uganda Communications Commission.
Buyugira nyaffe Uganda ku Radio Africa. Tolemwa kumwenya. Oluwaka mwenyu akajjudde abanywanyi. Embeera y'obudde yatukolako mukwano n'obutonde obutubeezaawo. Ne butusobozesa buli omu okubeerawo mu ngeri ye. Kuba ffenna tuli banjawulo ne mu ngeri gye tukwasaganyamu emirimu gyaffe. Naye ekitugatta ne tufuuka omuntu omu. Bwe bwomyo buva mu kyokunywa. Ekyaleeruya jingatte drink n'aleeruya tamarind drink. Eddekende erikumala ennyonta ate nga wejjanjaba omubiri gwo. Ekyokunywa kino kye kitegeera emibiri gyaffe kuba kya butonde 10 ku 10. Woomerwa ekyokunywa ekirimu omubisi gw'enkooge. Aleluya tamarind drink n'aleluya jingatte drink bikolebwa ba Aleluya Reflexology Healthy Solution and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Weefunira ekyokunywa kya Aleluya leero okuva ku maduuka wonna. Bakubire ku noti 393 24 15 66.
Hello, how are you? Tell me, how do you do? We're here to show some appreciation for the things you do. Thank you for today, and thank you for tomorrow. Thank you for every time and everywhere you go. We love you so, and we enjoy life with you. We are happy, happy, happy to know that we will go with you. That's why we say thank you, thank you, thank you, yeah. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for choosing MTN. Use MTN Mobile Money, bundles or other services to get Thank You points. The more you use, the more Thank You points you get. We look forward to many more years together. Thank you.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
This weekend on UBC.
Now, in recent Uganda, there has been a dynamic shift in attitude towards biracial people. You know, according to me, being biracial is to enjoy the best from both sides. Now, the guy I have on the show, he's both Indian and Muchiga. Interesting. So the locality where he comes from, where he hails from, people call him Tiakabari. How hard has it been, Mr. Mino, for you to mingle with the locals as a biracial?
One time I was going to Gaba. I boarded a taxi. So it is a very interesting story. I usually like to tell it.
Yeah,
so when I sat near a woman, someone called me from Kabale. I talked in Ruchiga and we talked. So after the conversation, the woman was also Muchiga. She turned and looked at me and asked me in Ruchiga, Iwe, Muchiga, Koragambo Ruchiga, that literally means, are you a Muchiga? Why are you speaking Ruchiga? I said, yes. I said, why are you so brown? I'm going to Udgonko Mujung. When Uratukura? Then I said, now, if I go to explain much to this woman, we'll collide. I just told her, you know what? Ndesiga majuta, ndesiga movie, tiniwera nyirizankati.
This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, as you boost your immunity this morning with Hallelujah ginger tea drink or tamarind drink for that matter, I'm choosing to boost your movements this morning by looking at how traffic flow is in the heart of Kampala and some parts that are red zones, and maybe head to the likes of Entebbe Road and see how that is looking like this morning. This is traffic updates on Good Morning Uganda. We get to look at Cham Towers area. This is where you have Ginger Road intersecting with Entebbe Road. People did not know that Entebbe Road starts at the traffic lights of Ginger Road. This is where Entebbe Road starts from. It doesn't start from Chibuye. No, this is where it starts from. So just a tip for you to know your roads. It's very important to know your roads. I remember one time my dad still left us around Watoto Church downtown, and he told us to go to a certain street. We looked for the street, and back in the day streets were not even labeled, so we had to ask around. We went around and around, yet the street was just above us. So we must know our streets as we maneuver around, and as technology also advances, you must get to know that is having some sort of jam. Of course, this morning traders are trying to get the goods up and about. We also do have some red zones around Ham shopping grounds in the areas of Nachivubo, where you do have Allen Road, Nachivubo Road. Of course, because of the commuter taxis from Namirembe Road, that is why you're having some red zones in this direction, and commuter taxis, buses are trying to make their way either into the new park or the old park for that matter. However, you do have the Kampala old taxi park temporarily closed because it's under construction. So most of the vehicles, most of the taxis are actually parking on the streets in order to be able to get people in and out of the heart of the city. That is why we're seeing a lot of red zones downtown Kampala. Around Owino Market, you also get to see that there's a lot of traffic coming through from Chisenyi into Owino, simply because it's also a back route that taxis use to maneuver and avoid the jam that comes in from Chibuye, Katwe. So they will use the entrances of Chisenyi to make their way into Owino, and also because some taxis have made this particular road a stage for vehicles and taxis, they definitely have a lot of jam coming through from that side. It does bring us back to the likes of Mengo Hill Road, which gives you an entrance into Usafi. Now this morning, just at the sharp corners that you have there is where you're having a little bit of a red zone on Mengo Hill Road. But looking at the area of Usafi, Usafi does come, of course, from Entebbe Road. Now, from Entebbe Road, you get to see that around ShopRite Clock Tower, there is a jam build-up. But interestingly, now because the traffic officers do direct the traffic, and they actually can use both roads at the same time, meaning that they will leave one route to go in order to use the double lanes and manage the traffic there. However, this morning, I don't think that is applicable, seeing that there's a lot of red zones around Usafi Market, Katwe. You get to see it actually building up into ShopRite, and then it does relax a little bit as taxis go in this direction, and then these are getting onto Entebbe Road and maybe Ginger Road for that matter. You also get to look at another red zone this morning, is where you have a new mall that is coming up. Me and Steve are excited to see this new mall coming up. It's called the Arena Mall, but it looks like a stadium, so we're thinking it's supposed to be a stadium of sorts, but it's a mall. Yes, so it is another red zone this morning. We do have Zambia traffic coming through here. You do have vehicles that are coming in from Mukwano Road, and you also have the likes of Mbuya feeding into this whole traffic jam here. So that is why you're having a red zone here. Also the east traffic lights, but recently I passed by and they were not operational, so I think that is why we're having some red zones there. Back to Queensway this morning. Queensway has an interesting diversion because it is under construction. They are trying to construct the Kampala highway extension, or what would be the Kampala bypass, the one that passes over. There is a lot of barricades that are on the lower route adjacent to Queensway, and so it does bring about a lot of jam. However, there's also a diversionary route here where you get see cars that are supposed to be coming in from Queensway and joining maybe the likes of Mengorubiri. They will have to come back here, join Katwe, and then be able to get back onto the Safi roundabout and get back into Mango. So that is where the diversionary is bringing in this red zone that we're seeing here this morning. We get to look at away from Queensway. You get to see the likes of Chibuye, Katwe, Trading Center, Business Center. There's a lot of jam, obviously, because it is the back route that is mainly used by taxis, and they're picking up people as they go. Also, some trucks and some traders are also offloading their things. So that does explain a lot of jam that is around that area. Around Muganzirwaza, traffic seems to be flowing in that area, which leads us to Chibuye roundabout. Chibuye roundabout does have traffic coming in from the heart of the city, from Queensway, which is Entebbe Road, and also Katwe. It also has traffic that is coming in from Masaka Road, Ndeba. The likes do come and meet here at Chibuye. Also, there's traffic that comes in from the rest of Entebbe Road and Machindi equally, that is feeding into the Chibuye roundabout jam. Now, if you don't have patience, trust you me, you may not want to use Chibuye as an alternative, because you may spend over 30 minutes there. Recently I've been going back home after the show, and it's interesting to note that this is actually standstill. You can pass from here and you're heading to Entebbe Road, possibly you're heading to Zana, and you will find traffic jam that is building up all the way from Namasuba, and vehicles are not moving. So you would want to consider the alternative routes there that you have. You might want to consider maybe branching off from Stella, get through Ndeba, and use Rubiri Ring Road to be able to get into the heart of the city to avoid this madness, because it can stand for over 30 minutes. But if you do have the patience, you have no rush hour for yourself, well and good. You get to look at another red zone. We do have a calendar area code in Machindia adjacent to Salama Road. We also do have some jam that is building up here, and it's simply because there is a commuter taxi stage on one side and on this side, and then also because we do have a taxi park in this area. It does contribute to how traffic flows this morning in this area of Calendar. And also there are those that are using it as a back route to join Entebbe Road here. So they do have this option to get to Entebbe Road, and it does affect the intersection, cross-section that we're seeing here. But looking at this route that joins Entebbe Road, this particular road does have a lot of they've moved away from becoming potholes. They are now like valleys in this road, and so this is why you're seeing jam. It's not that there's actually many cars in this area, but it's simply because the road is practically impassable, especially for saloon cars. So if you have a saloon car and this was your option, you might want not to use it. Stick to the highways, the tarmac roads, because your car might end up getting a mechanical problem that you had not planned for. As I said, on Entebbe Road, this traffic jam is going all the way to Kenjoy supermarket area, and that is a challenge for you. So you can use this back route that we have here. You can use the Stella, it's called Stella Stage. You can get off Stella Stage and maybe join Weraga Road, which is going to lead you into Ndeba. And when we get to Ndeba, you can see on this route in Ndeba, there's actually free-flowing traffic. There's no hiccup whatsoever. The orange lines that you're seeing are commuter taxis, and also there is a market around that area. But Ndeba is a very good alternative option to avoid the jam on Entebbe Road. So that is how it looks like pretty much. Let's just get to see around Najara Kumbi. We get to see Namasuba Trading Center. It's actually also a clear road all the way to Zana. You get to see that it's very, very clear road. The Zana roundabout is also not having any traffic jam. The only red zone that we're now seeing on Entebbe Road is around Zana, after you have passed the roundabout heading maybe to Dubois. Also, there's a red spot to Dubois Road heading to Quality Supermarket, and that is for cars that are coming in from the hill of Dubois and trying to join Entebbe Road. That is explainable. The rest of it does not look bad this morning. All the way into Seguku Doctors Hospital looking clean. Fresh Cuts area is looking clean, obviously, because there is this junction here where you got to have some vehicles that are trying to get into this particular area of Seguku Katare. You get to have this little bit of interception of orange lines, but it's nothing to fear. So basically, coming from Entebbe Road, it's okay, but when you get to Stella, Najana, Kumbi, there it starts to build up. If you don't have 30 minutes of patience, you're in a rush hour, look for an alternative route. The alternative route here actually is the bypass. You can use the express route to be able to get maybe out of that jam and get onto likes of you can get to Salama, you can pass through Rukuri and the likes. So those are your traffic updates this morning. It is still Good Morning Uganda, and we get into a break. When we come back, we do have Good Morning Uganda agenda and Thursday's edition, Robert Chiro to take us through.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Stay connected to the largest 4G network in Uganda, anytime, anywhere, using the Airtel 4G Pocket MiFi, available at only 123,000 Uganda shillings. This comes with 15 GB free, valid for a month. You can connect up to 10 users at a go and still enjoy a shared yet unmatched internet experience. Dial *175*9# to activate free 15 GB. Visit the nearest Airtel shop to get one today. Airtel, the smartphone network. Airtel is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
For all your shopping needs, garments, cosmetics, and all sorts of drinks. Enjoy your shopping experience at affordable prices in our fully stocked branches in the following areas: in Tinda Station Road, opposite Makere Business School along Portbell Road, Justice Street opposite Nakasero Market, and Garden City on Yusuf Lule Road. To all our customers and suppliers, we thank you for your continuous support. Stay safe, wash your hands, sanitize, and wear your mask always.
Buyugira nyaffe Uganda ku Radio Africa tolemwa kumwenya olwaka mwenyu akajjudde abanywanyi. Embeera y'obudde yatukolako mukwano n'obutonde obutubeezaawo ne butusobozesa buli omu okubeerawo mu ngeri ye, kuba ffenna tuli banjawulo ne mu ngeri gye tukwasaganyamu emirimu gyaffe. Naye ekitugatta ne tufuuka omuntu omu bwe bwomye buva mu kyokunywa ekya Aleluya Jingated Drink n'Aleluya Tamarind Drink, eddekende erikumala ennyonta ate nga wejjanjaba omubiri gwo. Ekyokunywa kino kye kitegeera emibiri gyaffe kuba kya butonde 100 ku 100. woomerwa ekyokunywa ekirimu omubisi gw'enkooge. Alleluia Tamarind Drink ne Alleluia Ginger Tea Drink bikolebwa ba Alleluia Reflexology Healthy Solution and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Weefunire ekyokunywa kya Alleluia leero okuva ku maduuka wonna. Bakubire ku noti 393 24 15 66.
Next time on the Road to Mama's Kampala 2021.
It's a shame, I've never been to Queen Elizabeth.
Queen Sheba joined forces with fellow Ugandan comedian Salvador to explore Queen Elizabeth Park and the unforgettable Kazinga Channel.
Jerusalem.
Road to the Mama. The duo will team up with the Ghetto Kids to host South African global sensation Master KG.
I'm excited to meet you in person.
Here we go.
Oh gosh! Catch the Road to Mamas, hosted by Uganda, the Pearl of Africa.
Yes, yes!
Dear children, I know you're missing your play areas at school, but this time will come. The lockdown has affected you in different ways. You have different experiences from your homes and your surroundings, but it has affected the adults as well. They are also anxious, they are also worried, they don't know what is there for us tomorrow. But the truth is, if we follow the presidential guidelines, that is continue washing your hands with soap and sanitize your hands, distance yourselves from the public, wear your masks, I am telling you, the future is bright for us. You will be safe. You will come back to that school that has been missing you and you have been missing. And you will enjoy everything in your play area at school. They are all waiting for you. They want you to come back and enjoy the activities back at school. Be good children. I love you.
Connect to the world for free on Ayoba. Chat with friends for free. Play games all day for free. Jam to Ziki for free. You can also send money through Ayoba. Absolutely no MBs needed. To download the app, visit www.mtn.co.ug/mymtn and select Ayoba.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
At Chidiowa and Karujiri Chambers in Kampala district, we sit down with Natasha Museveni Karujiri, an author of a new book on the shelves, What's in a Name, Kaine Mbabazi, a memoir about her life and reflections of a daughter of the savannah.
I had this conversation with God where I was telling him that I feel like I'm too young to write my story.
You feel like there's the missing parts to the history of our nation.
When we were studying history, they said in the books they would write things like, I don't know, a certain mountain or a certain lake was discovered by a certain European explorer. That, for me, disturbs me because obviously the lake was there all along, so I don't know how someone who came in 1862 is the one who discovered. So those are the issues I have. In the book I talk about hair. Like I didn't come with my afro today. I should have, yes, but it took me a long time to accept to have my natural hair, you know. So basically I am saying, let us know who we are and that there is so much beauty in ourselves, and embrace that.
You may have heard of physical distancing. This means keeping at least 2 arms length apart from other people at all times to reduce the spread of coronavirus. But why is it so important? Without physical distancing, each person infected with coronavirus will infect 2 to 3 others. Each of these people go on to infect 2 to 3 more, who each go on to infect another 2 or 3 people, and so on. Within a month, the infection will spread from 1 to 406 people. But if each person halves the number of people they come into close contact with, the number of infections drops dramatically. Each person would only infect 1 or sometimes 2 people, and each of those infected people would only infect 1 or occasionally 2 more. So the disease spreads much more slowly. In a month, the infection would only spread from 1 to 15 people. That's the power of physical distancing. Keep at least 2 arms length distance from as many people as you can to reduce infections and save lives. That way you protect yourself, the people you love, and your country.
This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
At exactly 7 minutes past the hour of 8, it is GMU Agenda on Good Morning Uganda. So much has happened. We've had the political season, a hot one, where many people even had to leave their businesses to go to the villages and elect people of their choice. But also the business community, somehow also the sales might not have been what they expected. Remember, there was a bit of tension, there was a bit of worrying, what will happen after voting, what will happen during the voting day for presidential and parliamentary. So these in one way or the other affected the business community. And with me today in the studios is the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, Kampala Capital City Traders Association, Uganda, that is Kasita. This is a body that brings together traders in this country. First it was for Kampala, but later it expanded to the entire country. That is why it is now called Kasita, Uganda. Correct. Away from the Kampala people alone, it's now a national body bringing together all traders. And this is Abel Moesije, with whom we are going to be discussing effects or impact of politics on the business community. Abel, I'm so excited. When I heard I'm going to be hosting the CEO of Kasita, I expected the likes of Evariste Kayondo, your spokesperson, Issa Sechito, and I see a young lad just before me. How have you been?
Good, good. Can you allow me remove this mask so that I can be audible enough? And yes, good morning first of all.
Good morning, Abe.
I'm glad I'm here today. And let this not be a surprise to you. It's not about the physique, it's not about how you look, it's about how much you can deliver. And this is our generation, and that's why even you had to pick interest in me because of what you think I actually can add onto the public and the show as well. So I'm here to deliver. I'm not here to show how I look like or my age or my, but it's about service delivery. And by the time you're put in any office to serve people, it means that God has actually chosen you. That yes, you're the right person to serve. So I'm humbled.
Before we go any further, how is business? Just a brief analysis of business of late.
Of course, business isn't good, to be precise, because the effect of COVID, now of recent, the political season, elections, it has now killed everything, and by killing everything, it's not only financial, but from the psychological point of view, mentally, up to the real sales, everything has been really down. So we hope that maybe by end of Feb we will start, picking up. But we've surely been affected.
We want to talk about business for the benefit of our viewer. What are we referring to? Because you're looking at the impact of politics on the business community. So what is the scope?
When you talk of business, we actually don't have a limitation on business. You yourself here, you're in business. Someone in Chikubo is in business. Anyone who is at Malaba is in business.
Where there is transaction.
So anything that has a transaction in it is actually business. But when we talk of politics, from the 13th of Jan, with the new norm, because of the COVID-19, the first effect, you will realize that most of the businesses are actually done online, either by transaction or communication or, you know, that kind of sort. But the shutdown of internet, it cost us so much.
One would think that the traders in Chikubo, members within Kasita, are so much in deliver item, I pay, deliver item, I pay. Are you also so much disturbed by the internet shutdown?
Yes. You know, when COVID came, it did not spare anyone.
Yes.
That's why you realize that even a Chikubo person who used to have the traditional way of transacting business has changed his mindset. These are people right now who are trading online. Okay, he will call you and deliver where you are. He will market his things on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on everything. Okay. So because we have already picked up. Now
social media wolf.
Absolutely. Because it is the way to go. Okay. There are many people, including you now. You may not feel okay to move downtown in Chikubo because of maybe the psychological effect that you have. That people down there's a lot of congestion, pickpocketing. So that's why even us, we have adjusted in all ways. So internet cost us so much. That's one. Two, you know, when it comes to politics, we already have this feeling that yes, money gets scarce because everyone is prioritizing elections, whether government or individuals or whoever. Three, of course, there were a lot of certainties within these elections.
Let's look at the fact of money gets scarce. Is this real or is it just something within the minds of people?
It is very real. It is very real.
Political time takes money.
Yes.
So people really purchase and...
I mean, why it does, someone who is actually contesting, yeah, he's looking at offering whatever coin he has to these electorates than focusing on business. That's why you're seeing that there are even many of our colleagues that we know in the business community who had actually participated in politics. And so they had to pull all the resources they had, go and inject. You understand? And at that time, no one could think of stocking. The entire focus is on elections. That's one. Two, just like the tension that we've been having. People had to hold their monies because they do not know what is ahead tomorrow. If you can realize on the from 11th, 12th and 13th, because of the mentality, there are people who tried to stock. And so after stocking, someone will tell you, no, I'll start the real business transactions at a later time.
So they stock and withhold stock as they monitor the situation.
Many other people fled. They went to villages. So what does that mean? By the time a big number of people start going to villages, then that means the liquidity within our business entities, it starts deteriorating. So it is real. There are facts.
Let's look at political decisions. How do they affect the way you conduct business? Because these are people that are being elected into positions. Does it have an effect or for the business community? You're in your own world as long as sales are working, there's liquid cash flowing, you're getting your goods onto the market. That is all for the business community.
No, that's not all. Whatever decisions that politicians make, they do affect us. That's why this time around, we're actually struggling to have most of those people who understand business to actually go to parliament. Those who would push for business policies that actually do favor us. Okay? Because at the end of the day, I mean, when you come, for example, to taxes, tax amendments are made, but who approves? It's parliament. You understand? Okay, let's take a brief example of our Kampala here, which is very near. Look at the trade order in the city. Someone who does not understand business will not actually hear you say, why don't we regulate these vendors? Because these vendors are costing people that are paying rent, that are paying taxes, that are paying trading license, that are paying... But because for him, he minds about the electorates.
Votes. These are many people.
Now,
They vote for me.
You understand? So whatever decision that a politician makes, it affects us, either negatively or positively. Okay? I mean, look at whatever investment policies that are being made. Someone who is not in business, you will go and cry to him that, look, we are promoting Bubu. I mean, Bubu, it is in our interest. But he will not understand Bubu. You'll find him saying, you know what? Abel has a supermarket here. Why don't you motivate him by actually offering him land in an industrial area so that he goes into manufacturing? He becomes a local manufacturer. But because this politician is not having any business ownership within him, there is no way he is going to push that agenda. You understand? At the end of the day, he will look at, okay, if I push an agenda that benefits a foreigner, A, B, C, and D, or an investor, where do I benefit? This one is going to look at me in a different way. But this local person, there's nothing that I expect from him. So, at the end of the day, when we start crying of Forex, because Forex, it affects us so much. Someone who does not trade, someone who does not import, does not export, how do you expect him to understand those Forex concerns? But those are policies that are passed. So it affects us so much.
Very interesting, viewer. We are looking at the impact of politics on the business community. We've just finished a heated political period where now most of the elections that are remaining they are going to be under electoral colleges. But at least we finished with the president, member of parliament, division mayors, municipalities. That has been done with. And now we are looking at the impact. What have these elections, right from the campaigning period, how have they impacted on the business community? Abel,
so,
it was long from the 9th of November campaigns there and all this kicking off. Those 60 days we saw that politicians were more so accessing your premises. You've seen the security aspect of it. How was this also, most of times where we are seeing these frictions, clashes here, how has this affected the business community?
Now, one thing I want to bring to your attention is that we as the business community, we are the most fragile society and the most targeted society for that case.
Most targeted?
Yes. You see, every politician in this season, they were all looking at us, one, for financing. Because they believe we are the ones that actually have money. Indeed, we do. You understand? So, what usually happens during all those campaigns and whatever, we are the most hit people. Because every time someone would be holding a rally, trust me, businesses would go and stand still. That's one. Two, whenever any riot or any violence kind of sort would happen, even when people would, yes, try to exercise their rights, they are demonstrating that, but there are people who would be targeting our shops, our businesses. Okay? So, it really affected us so much. And I want to assure you, the moment someone spends an entire day closed, then that means business has been lost. Because most of these businesses that we operate, we have daily obligations, most of which are financial. Most of which are financial. I want to assure you, if most of these people that are operating businesses, you'll find out that more than 60% of the capital they hold is actually, they are full of credit facilities. And when we come to credit facilities, they are from different categories. When you go down there in Chikubo, Nakasero, most of them, they are facilitated by these money lenders. And these money lenders, their obligations are on a daily basis. So every time a shop is closed for a day, someone has lost more than 5, 10, 15 millions. Now, how do you expect that not to affect us?
So how do you, as the business community, tend to use politicians to your own benefit? Because, yes, their activities cost you.
Our approach, or the advice that we are giving to the business community, we actually commend the music industry. They learned that several years ago. They felt the effect that that politics was creating on the industry, and that's why today you will see many artists actually getting into parliament. Why do they do that? Because they want to advocate for policies and rights that actually favor their industries. It is the same thing we are advocating and we are pushing for our business people. It doesn't cost you having your business run as you're also legislating on something that you actually know. Because you clearly know Kasita Uganda, we do advocacy so much when it comes to business. But then we've realized that we have a limit. We are limited.
Speaking to people who do not understand your issues.
Absolutely. Even when we advocate for these policies, we are not the implementers. And now when time comes to implement, these implementers are actually ignorant of what. You understand? And at the time of implementing, we are then excluded. So that's why we are saying, why don't we have business people participate in active politics? They go and actually exercise what we, the business community, do what? And what is actually annoying, or what is most worrying, is that we are the ones that drive the economy. No question about that.
Yeah, yes, you drive the economy.
But we are the ones that are, we are not prioritized in any way.
But we've seen Kasita Uganda so many times carrying out a couple of meetings, sessions, then recommendations, and this being followed or even implemented.
That's why I'm telling you. You see, when you recommend, you're not making a decision. Okay?
Or it's you as a body that have failed to position yourself to a position where you're seeing that really the people we are speaking to are the people that determine the revenue of this country, that determine what we earn, what the resources we are getting.
In the first case, we've done our part, and that's why we are moving into changing the approach. When you look at the time when we are advocating or making these recommendations, the engagements that we are having, they are never final engagements. After those engagements, then there are other further engagements that do facilitate decisions where we are actually excluded. Now, so if you give me a recommendation and I have another time to vet what you actually recommended in your absence, what do you expect? That's one. Two, most of these policymakers have come to a point where they understand who we are. If a policy comes and they feel this may not work well for the business people, they immediately know you when they bring on board Kasita will say, no, do this and this and this. Yet, most of our recommendations do not favor them. You get the point? So that's why we are saying, we want to move from a point where we are simply recommending. Can we have these people who own our recommendations to go and implement them?
So would we say that, Kasita, maybe you also would deserve a special slot of representation? We've recently seen the elder persons have joined a group in this 11th parliament that is represented in the 5 divisions. Would you push for that as Kasita? Under interest groups or?
No, that would not work now. Yeah? Because we are still at liberty to participate at all levels.
And you have the capacity.
And we have the capacity. That's why I'll be honest with you. We had, there are several people that we pushed for with this electoral process that has just concluded, who actually participated. Some of them went through, and others, of course, tried, but it was a clear picture that yes, we can. We don't need to wait for us to be considered as a special group. No, we are not a special group. Now, that would be marginalizing ourselves. Yes. We are the ones driving the economy. How do you now call us special groups? So we can have a business person participate at any parliamentary level.
Not a special group, not affirmative action.
No. We can. And that's why when you go into women politics, we have women representatives that we've actually positioned. Yeah? When you come like here in Kampala,
workers still
workers, how do you become a worker when you're actually not working? Whom are you representing? And this is the argument we are pushing to the public. They need to know who they are. If you don't understand who you are, then some other person will actually understand for you, and he will decide how to handle you. So this is the perception that we are changing.
Well, viewer, I'm having Abel Mwesije, who is the CEO, Kasita, Uganda. That's the Chief Executive Officer, Kampala, Capital City Traders Association. Now it is Kasita, Uganda, because moved away from only Kampala and looks at the entire country. True. Abel, let's look at the recovery plan. What do you have to recover from this shock that you've gotten? First it was COVID, now politics. It has also taken a bit of some of your time and also resources. As traders under Kasita, what is your recovery plan like?
Of course, most of the plans that we are having are now being, they are privately driven. There are several plans that government announced, but our
bailouts,
they have not materialized, and they will not materialize.
Why won't they? There is money. We hear monies have been allocated to Uganda Development Bank. There are other opportunities, avenues.
I'll just challenge you. I'll challenge you in the next show, even if it is tomorrow. You just bring here, you host a real business person who is actually a beneficiary of any of those funds. Just host one or two, then I'll start from there to actually concede that yes, the plans are there. Okay? However, whether those plans come or not, business is our livelihood. So that's why privately we've started adjusting. Okay? The consumption ways, business models have changed. Okay? I mean, we are now starting to believe, why would I continue paying rent for 10 million when I've actually realized that my sales have gone down? Why should I continue having that traditional way of doing business when I actually know that technology has taken over? You understand? Why do I continue trading in a certain product when I actually know this is what is desirable? I have witnessed several who have now invested in R&D. You know, a layman, and he's saying, go and research for me what is now trending on the market, so that I adjust. You understand? I have realized several people these days, they are saying, okay, why do I drive my car every day when I am actually not earning? I have seen people saying, okay, why do I have to find, to wait for this UBC staff to come in Chikubo? Why can't I find him at where he is, so that I give him the convenience that he needs? Back my shop, I am actually increasing. You understand? We are using a lot of multiplier effect. Right now, where you're seated, you will say, no. If you want ABC and D, just call Abel, he will come. And so that is what we are actually grasping. You understand? Now, you will find, why do I only have a shop in Chikubo when I have my land in Chiboga that I actually presented as collateral, but it is empty? Why can't I utilize that land as I continue trading here? You know, there are things that have actually changed. You understand? But most importantly, we've come to realize that social capital is very, very important today. When we talk of social capital, we've realized that the level of integrity in business matters a lot.
Yes.
We never take
because
now.
Why would I send you money if I don't trust that goods are going to
Thank you. We are just realizing. And it is a very big capital. We are realizing the effect of these cooperatives. Because, you know, bank loans, the interest are so high. Of recent, they did a loan restructuring process. But let me tell you, few of us have actually embraced that, because it has done more harm than good.
I'll be sure. All the interventions, you're rubbishing them.
I'm not rubbishing.
Because these are being done to save you, the traders, but you're not receptive.
No, let me tell you. We appreciated all those interventions when they came. But as we mentioned, there are several recommendations that we made. When the loan restructuring came, as Kasita, we came out. We engaged Bank of Uganda. We engaged Minister of Finance. We actually even went to the president. And we told them, okay, yes, let's have this loan restructuring. But can you hold the interests for the period that we are not working? Nobody had us. Now, you restructure a loan, I am actually not working, but then the interest keeps on accruing. So what does that restructuring help me? Okay, you tell me I'm supposed to pay 100 million in 5 years. Now you're helping me to pay the 100.
The payment period has been extended.
In 8 years. But the more extension you give me,
the more
interest is accruing. So what is it helping me? And that's after appreciating that. That's why we came in to recommend that, look, for this intervention to work out, please hold because I'm actually not working. I should be paying interest on the capital that I have actually used, but we are all seated home. Now you, the banks, you're actually gaining. Even when I'm not refuting or rubbishing everything. I'm trying to be real. And that's why we've decided, can we have our own circles where we know the interest is manageable, but at the same time, what has been killing these circles is the other social aspect of integrity, of trust, so all that has actually raised.
Well, when it comes to business and the Kasita, Uganda, you can take a whole day, but time is not our best interest. Abe, let me get your final remarks to the business community, and if so, to the politicians.
I want to thank you. But also I want to inform the business community that we still have life after the political season. 2, our businesses are our livelihoods. So you kill your business, you're killing yourself. So let our interest be on our livelihoods than the current and temporary situation. Exercising your right does not mean that that you distort whatever you actually have on the table that you're going to feed on tomorrow. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Abe Mwesije, who is the CEO, Kasita, Uganda. We've been looking at the impact of politics on the business community. I want to leave you with some wise words for you in the business community. Time is, politics will come and go, but your business must stay.
Sure.
Do not chew your business in the interest of politics, because it's just a season. Have a blessed day. God bless you. God bless Uganda.
At Chidiowa and Karijiri Chambers in Kampala district, we sit down with Natasha Mseveni Karijiri, an author of a new book on the shelves, What's in a Name, Kaine Mbabazi, a memoir about her life and reflections of a daughter of the savannah.
I had this conversation with God where I was telling him that I feel like I'm too young to write my story.
You feel like there's the missing parts to the history of our nation.
When we were studying history, they said in the books they would write things like, I don't know, a certain mountain or a certain lake was discovered by a certain European explorer. That, for me, disturbs me because obviously the lake was there all along, so I don't know how someone who came in 1862 is the one who discovered. So those are the issues I have. In the book I talk about hair. Like I didn't come with my afro today. I should have, yes, but it took me a long time to accept to have my natural hair, So basically I am saying, let us know who we are and that there is so much beauty in ourselves, and embrace that.
Next time on the Road to Mama's Kampala 2021.
It's a shame. I've never been to Queen Elizabeth.
Queen Sheba joined forces